want to give you some update about a few things that it has been circulating in the Chinese social media that you might not see in the Western mainstream media nor the Western alternative media, in particular about Qin Gang's whereabouts. Okay, so Foreign Minister of China Qin Gang has been missing for 3 weeks. The official reason given by the Chinese authority is health reason, but the Chinese social media has been circulating many theories, and here is the list. 1, Qin Gang got COVID. Now, most people at this point don't believe that because he has been missing too long for a COVID recovery. 2, Qin Gang had a stroke and is recovering from it. It is plausible because it is a health reason, but other than speculations, I don't see any evidence on that one. 3, he is involved in a spy scandal. And the Chinese government was alerted by the Russian authority. One version even saying that Putin himself informed Xi Jinping about this. Now, again, there is no solid evidence, nothing to corroborate it. It is a theory. 4, the most talked about, most intriguing version is Qin Gang has an extramarital affair with a spy, and they even have a child. At the center of this theory is this woman. Her name is Fu Xiaotian. She used to work for a media company, Phoenix Satellite Television Holdings, hosting a popular show called 风云对话, Talking with World Leaders. In March last year, Fu interviewed Qin, and a year later, she posted her son's picture on Twitter and the Chinese social media Weibo, celebrating her son's 100 days. Many people using that Weibo post as an evidence, because in there she implied and given the name of the child, even though it didn't directly saying Qin Gang is the father, but there are many signs in there can be interpreted as such. She also posted another Weibo post on March 19th this year. Many claim that was Qin Gang's birthday. Now, I did some research. The odd thing about that is that about 10 days ago, when this rumor just first started to circulating, I looked everywhere. All I could find is Qin Gang's birthday is on March 1966. I couldn't find the exact date. Just the past few days, all those dates seem to appear now. For example, on the Wikipedia Chinese version. So far, the Wikipedia English version still only says March 1966, but the Chinese version changed from March 1966 to March 19, 1966. And also, when I first Google it, now Google itself will appear his birthday. In the very beginning, it appeared just March 1966. But if you Google it now, it shows March 19, 1966. As if for the past few days, there are some people who really wanted to be sure March 19 is his birthday, which I find odd. But anyway, so that's another so-called proof or clue to show that her relationship to Qin Gang is very special. Now, she herself has personally disappeared since April 10th. Now, all these and a few others so-called clues don't make much sense to me. And the rumor seems originated from this link. It seems originated from this link, sichu.com.my, which is Malaysia, right? So this is a Malaysian newspaper, but as you can see, the article is no longer there. Meanwhile, Fu Xiaotian herself has disappeared from social media, her Weibo, her Twitter, her Instagram, and it's all stopped around the time April 10th. And she herself hasn't appeared at all. Now, as I was making this program, there are new theories that emerges as well. I'm sure there will be new theories emerging every day, and some of which are actually plausible, and maybe even you can say with some evidence, but nothing solid. All I can say at this point is that something is going on with Qin Gang and Fu Xiaotian. Fu Xiaotian herself disappeared and never said anything. With so much rumors circling around her son, she hasn't come out and said anything, and nor does anybody claim have seen her since April 10th. So there's something is going on, but neither does Chinese official media nor the Western mainstream media can give any information solid other than health reason. So that's what we go with, okay? As long as he continues to be missing and no official account from the Chinese government, rumors will continue to circulate. Having an extramarital affair with a spy is simply too tempting to let go. And I'm sure the Chinese government is aware of it. So I think we should be able to find out more before too long. But that's about Qin Gang's whereabouts. The next thing I want to share with you is the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's visit to China. Well, it is unclear exactly why Yellen visited China for such a long time, 4 days. But in Chinese social media, the focus is on this picture, was tweeted out by Alan Rappaport, who is the economic policy reporter at the New York Times. Here is what he says: Yellen at lunch with women economists in Beijing. While the U.S. has differences with the Chinese government, these are not disagreements with the Chinese people. Well, the Chinese netizens seems different. What has been reposted, as you can see here, is people reposted and put the name and their background around her. Who are these guests? And if you read the comments, many of them, I would say overwhelmingly, are very negative about these women. Many people pointed out these are possibly traitors or potential traitors. The Chinese government should be very worried about and very careful, even though they all have high education and seems very prominent in their own way. But the netizens do not think too highly of these women. More importantly, they even discovered this woman, the only Westerners who are other than Yellen, who are at the table. This is her. Okay, so some people find out, they believe this is her, the same person who were very active during the Hong Kong riot. These 4 people are the Hong Kong riot's leaders. So she was there. And this picture was widely circulating during the Hong Kong riot period. And this is being used as an evidence that the US government is heavily involved with the Hong Kong riot. And now she's there eating with all the other women, which some people even asking, these 8 other women, do you know who this woman is? Do you know who you have lunch with? Because a person like her is regarded as enemy of China because she is openly participating in riots that is against the Chinese government, in this case, the Hong Kong government. But she's participating in it. She's clearly have something to do with them, right? So people figure out that her name is Judith Eid, and she is the former head of the political department of the U.S. Consulate General in Hong Kong and Macau. And so that is what the netizens feel about her and about this lunch, which is not exactly what Alan Rappaport is talking about. Okay. The last thing is about Henry Kissinger's visit to China. Henry Kissinger is 100 years old, and for him to make this trip means the US government wants him to convince the Chinese government to do something important. Now, the US State Department did say that this is his own personal initiative. Well, of course, he should personally be willing to do this. So, but did he just out of the blue, okay, now I need to go visit China, or somebody from the government talked to him and implied, and we don't know. Okay, but here's a few hints we might be able to see what his trip is about. One person he met is the Chinese Defense Minister Li Shangfu. That is highly unusual. Kissinger has been visiting China more than 100 times. I don't remember he ever met a Chinese defense minister. Normally, the Chinese government would just arrange his meeting with the Chinese top leader, the president, and the foreign minister. That's the tradition. And in this case was Wang Yi, who in place of Qin Gang's absence. So he didn't meet Xi Jinping and Wang Yi. But to meet Li Shangfu, to me, that's unusual. Okay, so is it possible that this is Biden administration's continued effort to reestablish military connections between the US and China? I think it's quite possible, right? Because they have tried many times. The military connections between the US and China broke down after Nancy Pelosi's visit. And let's have a look what happened there. Here, last August, here it says Minister of Foreign Affairs announced countermeasures in response to Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. Let's read it. There are 8 points that they're doing, okay? Canceling China-US theater commander talk. Canceling China-US defense policy coordination talks. Canceling China-US military maritime consultative agreement meetings. Now, all these 3 are military contacts. So cancel all the military contacts, essentially, the top 3. Let's move on to see what else is in there. suspending U.S.-China cooperation on the repatriation of illegal immigrants. We don't know whether this has been resumed. Suspending China-U.S. cooperation on legal assistance in criminal matters. Suspending U.S.-China cooperation against the transnational crimes. Suspending China-U.S. counter-narcotic cooperations. This, I'm pretty sure, hasn't resumed because the U.S., you can hear people are saying, okay, all the drug problems are initiated from China, they send in this and that. Fentanyl is from China, etc., or is China going to Mexico and then go to the United States. Well, that's what they're referring to. Now, it seems like it hasn't resumed because if it has resumed, that there should be less critical of this matter. The reason the U.S. doesn't get any help from this one, suspending the China-U.S. counter-narcotics cooperation. And that is the result of Nancy Pelosi's visit. So let's be clear about that. The last one, suspending China-U.S. talks on climate change. Now, John Kerry right now is in China. So that one has been resumed. Okay. Seems to me the top three, the military part of it, it just has not resumed. And it seems that China is pretty determined not to resume it. The U.S. clearly want to resume the talk. Lloyd Austin tried to have a meeting with Li Shangfu during the 20th Asian Security Summit in early June. It failed. They had a lunch or dinner together, and at the table, Singapore Authority actually put the two of them on the same table, and they shake hands, and that's all. There was no meeting. And that followed by Anthony Blinken's visit to Beijing in June 18th and 19th. He brought up this topic again, and then it was rejected. And then Janet Yellen also tried and failed during her visit to China just a few days ago. Now Kissinger. So why does the U.S. want to resume the military communication so badly? Well, in my earlier program, I talked about the U.S. wants to pick up a war and China is ready. In that program, I mentioned that there is a consensus within China. If any incident happens along the Chinese coast, the South China Sea, the Taiwan Strait, the East China Sea, etc. So instead of seeking diplomatic mitigation, Chinese authority has pretty much decided that China will go all the way to reunify Taiwan. And the U.S. is probably aware of it, and that's the U.S. would like to be informed if that happens. That's the reason. And that's also probably the reason that China doesn't want to do it. One can clearly imagine a meeting with the U.S. military. What does it mean? It means that you report to the U.S. The U.S. will never share anything with China on what U.S. is doing and what U.S. is trying to do or planning to do. It is a one-sided China reporting to the U.S. what China is up to. And it's quite possibly China has been unhappy about these meetings for a while. And Nancy Pelosi's visit simply gave China a very good excuse to put an end to it, right? And if that's the case, there is no reason for China to resume it. In other words, if China doesn't see any benefit for China to resume this meeting, why should China resume it now that it's ended with a good excuse? If you think of that, and so Li Shangfu's sanction clearly is one reason, but I really doubt it is the only reason. I even doubt it is the main reason. And that also explains there is a rumor that Li Shangfu's sanction was originally going to be lifted, but Jake Sullivan told Biden not to do so last minute before Blinken's visit to Beijing. Well, my explanation to that is it could be that Sullivan thought it'd be embarrassing if Blinken come to Beijing, promised to lift Li's sanction, and China still refused to resume the military talks. That could be explaining Sullivan's concern, right? Which, in my view, that is quite possible that they lift Li Shangfu's sanction and China still don't want to resume it, or China wants something significant in return. That would be very hard for Biden to deliver. That's all I have for now. If you like this kind of update from China, let me know in the comment section and hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you.